And we're here with our good friend, Mark Colo, who's coming to us from nearby, relatively speaking, in St. George, Utah, which is north of Las Vegas. Um, okay, so Mark, thank you very much. We were just chatting a little bit off camera, you and I, about people are need to step up, and you're an example of facing facts and having a positive attitude. And more than that, if there can be more than that, I dare say a constructive can do, will do, despite odds. Welcome, Mark Colo.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for that kind introduction. I
You
appreciate that.
bet. And I want you to try to upload your slides when you can, but even if you cannot, we could still have a nice discussion here for several minutes. Um, Mark Colo, just for those of you who don't know yet, is a patient of Parkinson's, which is a neurodegenerative disease. He's been dealing with this for more than 20 years. He's written two books. He's been a TEDx speaker, and he's been on our TV talk shows for 3 years or so. And he has founded a charity, and he's now on the patient advisory board of a major medical biotech company. Uh, and he's just a leader and giving back all the time. And I'm really happy to be able to have this opportunity to showcase Mark and what he's doing. So your two books, or is it a third book now, or is it just two? Now, I haven't written anything, so but you have two books.
There's always a first. Well, that's good. Yeah, and I certainly that was one of the milestones of my industry, is being able to extend myself into being an author of a couple books. I've got a couple books completed, but I've got probably another two or three books I'd like to write, and I intend to do that within this next year. But the first book that I wrote was called Peace with Parkinson's.
Peace with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
All right, so that means yourself coming
Yes.
to grips and having an attitude and inner strength that perhaps you didn't know that you had.
Yeah, yeah. I dig more in this effort than probably just about anything I've ever done in the business world, and I enjoy the journey. I've enjoyed the journey and learning new things, and it'll help my colleagues and friends. And it's just been a great experience. But I took an approach. If you notice on the cover page or on the cover of the book, I have a symbol there, and it's a symbolic item, which is basically, I think it's clear enough to be able to interpret it, but it's basically a picture of an onion. And onions are interesting in that you really can't tell if an onion is healthy or not unless you cut it right down the middle and you see the layers that are within that the skin of that onion. So and that's what life is all about. Life is, we develop these what they call wounds, or have a life event that is hard for you to manage and deal with, and it makes you recognize that we each have different gifts and talents that we can offer to others, but it takes the courage for you to dig deep into some of the areas that you normally wouldn't dig deep into, such as a TEDx talk. It's a good example for me. I mean, that was quite an experience preparing for it and writing it and getting all the thoughts together, and it was quite a journey. And And that my experience on both books. The second book I wrote is entitled. Let's see. Second book was. This is what happens when you have Parkinson's to deal with. You get these moments sometimes where you have just a stupor of thought, and then you got to give it some time to come back. But the second book was strictly about overcoming and learning who you really are and what you can do and what you think you can't do, and then facing it and going forward and not quitting, but then just working with it, setting your goals, and writing the structure, and then getting it written. And that was quite a journey.
Let me ask you a question about the process, the mechanical process of writing the book when you have Parkinson's. Did you record into a machine and then have that transcribed by someone who could type it up?
That's probably the simple way to explain the process, but that's essentially what I did do, and so I had others who were able to highlight on some of my unique traits, such as yourself. You gave me some very good testimonials that I had to work through, but that was great. But the book was called The Noble and Great Ones, and the subtitle is it's not about oh boy, this is a challenge for. So, we'll come back to this point, Ed. I think
Sure,
as we
of
move
course, when you
forward a little
can.
bit. But it's not really about your accomplishments at times, but it's just the opportunities that you have and how you just move beyond these challenges that we all face. And Parkinson's is something that kind of just turns on the light switch and lights everything up, and it's an opportunity to see very clearly areas that you need to work on and improve on and move past. So let me see. We all have fears that we have to face. Oftentimes you see that in a family scenario, and the children some might be more fearful of certain acts or opportunities than others do. So, but this is an acronym I came up with. I call it FAD, F-A-D, and the letters represent fear, apathy, and doubt. And these are three of the challenges that we all face in our lives, and when we're trying to progress and move forward. So, my feeling is that we have strengths and other challenges that we have to face, and that we all have certain qualities that make us unique. But they were all gifts from a loving Father in heaven. So that's kind of what I would state, is that each person is a child of God. And there's so many religions on the earth today, but most of them have certain meaning to it that are very complementary. So it's well, for example, we all pray. That's one principle in most religions, and most major religions have that element of prayer, and they work at for their prayers and trying to get closer to their Father in heaven from that effort, and that's one element. And then you have obedience, and if you look at the golden rules alone, we all are taught those same ten commandments, and so in life, if we have these decisions that we have to make and that we have to address, we all want to come out ahead. So we'll try and be sincere and try and give effort to finding help with that problem or with that challenge.
Let me ask you a question about the TEDx talk.
Yeah,
Okay, so that could be a pretty frightful experience. Not doing it, perhaps, but thinking about it too much and worrying. Uh, so, did you practice before getting out in front of the public and speaking at TEDx? Did you practice by memorizing a script, or did you just have a series of cue cards? I don't know what else to call it, but short phrases or just key words rather than sentences.
yeah, I did, Ed. I guess to answer that question, I did do some practice, but I wanted to make it easy enough that I could remember these principles and just share them at any given moment without having to work too hard to remember what they were. Um, then not always an easy process to go through. But yeah, I did. I was very clear with my principles, and I was very organized and at the effort I put forth to make those principles known. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And I don't recall everything about the video of you speaking on TEDx, but at sometimes you were seated, other times you were standing. Is that correct?
I was seated. Yes. Um, speaking of the TEDx, it's called a TEDx talk, TED, and then X, and the X is a lowercase, and the TED are all uppercase. But when I spoke to the administration that put these on, and they allow you and agree to let you be a speaker in that show, I talked to them ahead of time, and they were. I was surprised at how loosely they worked together. They were just. I think it's a matter of that they've done so many of these talks that it became second nature to them in some ways. But they didn't actually present who was going to be the first speaker, second, and third, fourth, so on. There were actually 12 speakers the night that I spoke. And of those 12 speakers, they asked me to be the first speaker. And I was a bit nervous about that because, gee, I'm the first one up. If I really mess this up, then I'm not going to feel very good about myself. And so I said, you sure you want me to be the first speaker? And they said, sure, yeah, we do. We feel you do a great job. So they went with that, and they said, we also thought about, we'd like you to sit for your speech because we have, if you'll notice, we have this high stage that you'll be standing on as your base to speak from. And it's a little bit precarious at how close you are to the front of the stage. So they were concerned from a balance, having a balance to do it, to make sure that they didn't have any mishaps. Because they didn't want me, heaven forbid, to fall off the front of the stage. So and that was fine with me. I really didn't have a problem doing that because I understood where they were coming from.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So, in one of your pet themes when we've been together on the several broadcasts across the past 3 years or so is that you're not in control. You wake up one day and something happens, and then you got to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I think control is something that is fear-based in many cases, and I've had many times where I've had to do something for the first time, and there was a fear base involved with that. I mean, because you could do some harm to yourself or to others. And it's just like as I think about this gentleman, this young, what's his name? I think it's Mark Hammond, I think his name is. He's a free climber, and he's climbed El Capitan, and he's also climbed Half Dome and climbed a whole bunch of different really difficult walls and acts of nature. But the biggest thing that he's claiming is his biggest joy and was climbing a mountain in Taiwan, and it was a 101 skyscraper, 101 floor skyscraper, and which is way high. I mean, you haven't even come close to comparing it in L.A. and Orange County. But this building is just gigantic, and it's straight up and down, and it's just heaven forbid you get stuck up there and the winds increase for some reason or another, and you have to get off the building, but you don't know how you're going to go or which way you're going to go. And I could just imagine some really challenges that come in those situations, but he was very fortunate. It was a clear day. It was all weather conditions were great, and he did a wonderful, fabulous job. So.
Well, Mark, let me ask you a couple of questions about Parkinson's. Okay.
Sure.
So it's visible to the camera now that you have shakes,
Right.
and is this all the time, or is late afternoon particularly tough time for you?
Well, Ed, just one thing I need to point out, I think, before I going anywhere further, is that it is everybody is affected differently that have Parkinson's, and there's not much you can do to change it, especially in the very beginning. So I'll give you one example of that. Let's say you want to date this girl, and you meet this girl, and you just want to go on a date with her, and you might want to hang out with her and get to know her, and all these other possibilities. And so you try to say and do and just control everything you can to make this young lady like you and want to go say yes to going out on a date, for example. Well, control is one of my principles that I try and help people get beyond, that are a little too caught up in control. And it's literally is something that you really have little to no control over at all. So, and what I mean by that is, you might think, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, I take her to her favorite coffee shop every morning, and I do these series of things that's going to win her over to me. But you might be the furthest from any other possibility of getting anything concrete. So you're going through a lot of effort sometimes with no return and no reward. Again, Parkinson's is one of these things that when you get it, there's no remission. There's no, it doesn't go away, and there's no cure yet. You know, it's something that you just have to live with and get through.
Yeah. So let's talk about the various slides that you have, but we have an apparent difficulty getting them up on the screen. So just tell the audience, tell me about the impact of one or two of your slides. If you could describe how it would amplify, augment your story.
I'll say that again, Ed. I don't think I'm on the right page with you. Say that, present it to me a different way.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm coughing. Um, the slides that we were going to see here, but we're not able to at this moment, describe one or two of the slides as to what you would have told the audience.
Okay.
Excuse
I
me.
think what I'd say to that question is that Parkinson's has such a broad range to it. It's such a large entity when you have to live with it day by day by day. There are some similarities that you can see when you have Parkinson's, where it will keep coming back to you in a different shape or different form, but it will never quite change to the point where you're doing something totally, completely different to what you've been used to doing for for however many months you've had it. But I have come to find that there's 5 what I call adaptable principles when you're living your daily, doing your daily functions with managing that condition. So there's 5 of them, and the first one is the only constant is change. So you've got to get your mindset set in such a manner that you can say, okay, well, that principle on control is an illusion. And that's when I served my 2-year mission. I went on a 2-year mission for my faith, and that was a fabulous experience. Just I learned so many things, but most importantly, I came away with 4 or 5 major control mechanisms that were if you follow these 5 principles and try and learn to adjust to it, that there's a good possibility that you'll be able to do some pretty amazing things. When I was in Ireland for those 2 years, I always heard the Irish saying, "Hey, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes." And that really is a true statement in Ireland, is because the weather conditions can change almost instantaneously. And then the second principle is if you think things can't get worse, you're wrong. And that's not to say that you're going to have a tough life regardless, although you do have a really challenging life with it. But you got to just acknowledge that if you think things can't get worse, you're wrong. You're wrong. And there were many things that happened which I would have never thought in a million years I would have that happen to me, but yet it did. And then the third one is control is an illusion. We've already talked about that one. And that one, I think we just have to learn and teach ourselves that no matter what happens to us and no matter what situation we find ourselves in, that we still have to keep getting up each day, make it out of our bed each day in the morning, and keep a positive outlook and keep your sense of humor. Don't ever give up your sense of humor, because you get to some pretty gnarly situations with Parkinson's, and you have to be able to navigate your way through it. And one of my favorite principles that is part of that controls and illusion is to, if you feel as though you're in an unchangeable unpossibility or a difficult situation, you have to keep that sense of humor, and because you've heard it said before, having a good sense of humor is the best medicine you can have. So I look at it as a type of medicine if you have a good sense of humor. And I've showed you I'm going to show you a couple of my senses of my jokes that I like, Parkinson's jokes. I'll just share a few with you, Ed. I'm thankful that I don't ever have to buy an electric toothbrush. Right? So thankful for that. Parkinsonians make the best martinis, shaken, not stirred.
Right.
That's another one of my favorite jokes. I always have to say something about Michael J. Fox, because of all the people on this planet who have been here and will one day leave here, I think he's arguably done more for Parkinson's in trying to improve that situation and find a cure than just about anyone. So I ask the question, is if Michael J. Fox were caught in a 9.0 magnitude earthquake, would he stand perfectly still? That's a deep one. You got to think that one through. I think he would almost be able to handle that, I think. So anyway, those are all good.
That's
good
really
questions.
clever.
So I'll give you I'll give you my number 5 principle here, and maybe we'll be able to move on to something after that, but I don't know. I was in the moving and storage industry for close to 60 years of my career. It's a long time. And I was mainly involved moving executives across the country from an existing home to a new furnished home. And I got to meet some pretty neat executives and go into their homes and talk about the possessions they had that they were concerned about, and just having it go well. I did. My biggest client was a young woman named Diane, and she was the purchasing manager for UC Irvine in Southern California, for the University of California, Irvine. So a big company. They're actually the largest employer in Orange County, and she called me up and said, "Mark, I need your help." I said, "Sure, anything, Diane. What can I do for you?" She says, I've got to move an executive that we're moving from Georgetown University. He's taking a position to come to the university, and he's going to be a VIP. So she said, "So I got to tell you, Mark, if you mess it up, I'll lose my job." And so I said to myself, "Gee, well, Diane, I know my industry quite well, and I want you to know I'll do everything I can, pull out all the stops to make sure that he has a great experience. But it's a human service, so some performers are better than others." And I'd worked with all kinds of people in the industry that were one was just night and day difference as far as their attitude, their professionalism, and their experience. So I said, "Okay, well, let's tell you what, Diane, just give me this person's name, and let's hang up on this call, and I'll call him right away and get him on the road, He'll be in good shape. She said, okay, I'm counting on you. So his name was Howard, and I called Howard, and I said, Howard, Diane in purchasing asked me to contact you to help you get relocated from Georgetown University out here to Irvine, California. She said, oh, I'm so glad you called me. I've been waiting for your phone call. I said, well, I'm happy to help you. So I asked him the main question I asked all my executives, and that was, Howard, what's your biggest concern about your relocation? He said, that's a great question. He said, my biggest concern is I have 14 cryogenic freezers that have a combined total of 45,000 brain cells that I've lost patients who have gone through that and passed away from having that disease. And I can't afford to lose a single cell. And so I said, boy, geez, Howard, that's a big concern. I hear you loud and clear. I said, is there anything else that you're concerned about? He said, yes. The temperature in those freezers has to maintain a stable temperature, or it can harm and can actually damage the cells if the temperature goes up or down by more than 3 degrees. And I said, wow, oh boy, that's pins and needles to me. I could see your concern. And then I said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, can you guarantee that nothing will happen to my specimens? I said, Howard, I'll do the best I can. I want you to know that I have a vested interest in getting you out to the campus here in great shape. He said, can I ask what that is? I said, I have Parkinson's. And he went real quiet for about probably 10 or 15 seconds. And then he said, in a very gracious manner, he said, would you tell me about your Parkinson's? I said, I'd love to. So I didn't know it at the time, but this was a gentleman that had a total of probably 60 or 70 years experience with Parkinson's and all those patients that I mentioned. And he could write the book on Parkinson's. But I thought, what a kind gentleman to be able to say, would you tell me about your situation? And after that point where I made that new relationship with Howard, he became one of my best customers. And I did things for Howard that I wouldn't do for anyone. And so I made a good relationship with him. And he, over the course of the next 10 years, having known Howard, he introduced me to another probably 100 scientists similar to the work he was doing. And I got at least another 100 scientists that I moved, and where it was the same situation. They couldn't lose a single cell, had to go perfectly, and each one of those moves went perfectly and were perfectly executed with not a single issue. So I was so thrilled at that. So anyhow, that's probably a pretty good overall of the principles. I think if you can stick to those and apply them to your situation, you can get by and get through and get past just about anything that happens to you in life. So,
I thank you.
Ed, where should we go now?
I thank you very much, Marcolo, for sharing that very true story and heartfelt. And the relationship that was established that day between you and Dr. Howard continues to this day as a result of the honesty and the total dedication because of what many people would feel, woe is me, I have Parkinson's. You actually turn that into a positive and a winning attitude and a, if you will, a hands-on approach to taking care of the brain specimens for this famous doctor. And you won his trust. And because of that, you won the business. And that grew and grew and grew to this day. So thank you for sharing your life story, Marcolo. It's an honor for me to have you on Global Business News TV today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Ed. Thank you for your support over all these years. You've been a good friend, and I've learned much from you.
The beat goes on, my friend. Let's do it again. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Marcolo, and we'll see you on TV very soon. All
That
right.
sounds fun. Sounds
All
like fun,
right.
Ed.
Signing off. Thank you.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
We will. Bye bye. Cheers.